reading today for me really centers on the whole idea of mission, being a missionary. And I have to tell you that when I thought about this, I thought how I feel about the Jehovah's Witness. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship in my mind with the Jehovah's Witness, because to be honest, many times if I see them walking up the driveway, I duck or hide or close the curtains or whatever, because I just don't want to be bothered with it. I have my faith, I don't need this. But you know, each time that has happened when they left, I always then had a thought of how they took their mission and the faith that they had to go door to door and try to bring their message of salvation to the world. And my brothers and sisters, you know, those of us that were brought up Catholic, you know, we are familiar with the sacraments of initiation: baptism, Holy Eucharist, and confirmation. And to me, the reading really focuses on the sacrament of confirmation. My parents were immigrants from Italy, so when we first started out, we didn't have a whole lot. But I do remember that for Holy Communion and confirmation, it went all out. It was a big deal. We had parties and cousins and nieces and nephews, and everybody came to the confirmation, and I picked my godfather. That was a big deal, who I still have his middle name as a middle name. He gave me a watch, and at 8 years old I thought that was just tremendous. I had my own watch. But the point of the day was, and the nuns prepared us really well for it, was that day, different than any other day. And I was only going to receive this sacrament one time, because it was going to leave an indelible mark on my soul for life. The bishop was coming to Little Mother of Divine Grace Church in Philadelphia to see me and my 17 classmates, and to confirm me. And I remember the nuns preparing us by telling us, and one of the things the bishop will do after we prepared every question and knew every answer, if he asks you this, you say that. If he does this, you do that. And they said, and one of the things he's going to do is, he's going to go over and give you a slight blow on the cheek. And that frightened us all. We didn't know how strong or how big this guy was going to be and how that was going to feel. But the point was, it was to remind us that to carry out this mission of living a good Christian life was not always going to be easy. I'm sure much like the times doors were closed in a Jehovah's Witness's face, it's not always easy. And so you ask yourself, okay, so how am I going to carry out a mission? And then I think, well, you know, when we say on a mission, what does on a mission mean? Oh, we've heard things like mission impossible, and oh, he's just on a mission. And let me take it really basic and simple. I learn a lot from my dogs. I think animals are gifts from God to teach us. They show us. I can tell you that they've showed me unconditional love. I can tell you that they've shown me forgiveness. But I'm going to tell you something else about them. We have 4 of them at home. I know, 4 of them. And those of you that know them, they're very different. But they're one family unit. They're one family unit, but each has their mission. For example, George is a 14-year-old, 11-pound toy poodle. And his mission in life is to keep peace in the family. He is the dog, although one of the smallest, that rules the roost and keeps everybody in check. It's his mission. He's focused on that. Luke is a 120-pound chocolate lab, huge, as sweet and as gentle as the day is long, would not hurt a fly. And his mission in life is to make sure that there is not one morsel of food left on the floor or in anybody else's dish. He's very focused. Then there's Shane. He's 23 pounds, mixed from the shelter. And his mission is to alert us if there is a sound that's not usual within a 10-mile radius of our house. He's going to let us know that there's a sound there. And then finally there's Teddy, the smallest, the youngest. And his mission in life, and Jim and Brother John, Brother Joe, they can attest to this. His mission in life is to find every which way he can to continue to melt my heart and get whatever he wants out of me. And he's very successful at it. He's very focused. Where is our focus? Our focus as baptized Christians is to bring the good news of Christ to the world. And that's an awesome responsibility. And you may say to yourself, but brother, I don't have what it takes to be able to do that. How am I going to be effective in doing that? And I want to share a story with you. Because, being Franciscan, one of the things we learn early on in our theology is, when you preach, use words only whenever necessary. So when you may not think you have the gifts inside of yourself that really will be a missionary to the world, don't forget the Holy Spirit that is within you. And within that Spirit, as we heard in the Gospels, you do not need your sandals, you do not need your robes, you just need what is within you already. And I'd like to share this little story with you. A young hospital chaplain was serving his internship in a large teaching hospital. While on call one night, he was summoned to the room of a woman whose baby had been stillborn a few hours earlier. "We want our baby baptized," the young woman said, cradling her lifeless daughter, her husband at her side. Her name is Nicole. The intern didn't know what to do. He asked the young parents to wait a few minutes and then come to the chapel. Meanwhile, he tried to find someone more experienced, a more experienced chaplain to take over. He was not successful. What was he to do? What was he to say? Baptize a stillborn? This situation had never been covered in either his theological training or his training in pastoral care. He tried to think of what he could say to minister to this couple in their grief. But when they arrived at the chapel, the words he had hoped to say did not come. Instead, and almost without realizing what he was doing, he took a tissue, wiped at the tears in the eyes of the parents, then wiped his own tears, and touched the tissue to the baby's head and said, "Nicole, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit." He said nothing else. The tears were more eloquent than words could have been. So, my brothers and sisters, always be open to discover within yourself new ways of doing God's work in our world.